Hey guys, this is Utahraptor 1987 here. So, with Jurassic World Rebirth coming out later this summer, you would understand that there is a lot of anticipation and speculation surrounding this upcoming installment in the Jurassic franchise. As for me, I'm cautiously optimistic for this film. Let's start off with the positives first. For one thing, Gareth Edwards is going to be the director for this film. Secondly, David Koepp, who was the screenwriter for the original Jurassic Park and The Lost World, is coming back for Jurassic World Rebirth. And lastly, none of the characters from the previous films are coming back. So now we have a cast of brand new characters, and I'm excited to see what they'll do in this film. Despite these promising elements, there are a few things that have me worried about this film. For one thing, filming for Jurassic World Rebirth only lasted for a few months, and I'm worried that it wasn't enough time and the final product will feel rushed. My other red flag with this film is that the official synopsis revealed that most of the dinosaurs died out, and the only ones remaining reside in the tropical regions of the world. Which basically means that Fallen Kingdom and Dominion were completely pointless. I think the one question that I'm sure quite a few people have been asking is what dinosaurs are going to appear in Jurassic World Rebirth. So far, the only dinosaur that's been 100% confirmed to be in the film is the Parasaurolophus, specifically the variant we saw in Dominion. There's also another dinosaur that's been heavily rumored to appear in the film, which is something we'll get to later in the video. I was also genuinely surprised by the Jurassic Park community when they said they wanted to see less dinosaurs appear in the film, so that the ones that do appear get enough screen time, which I think is definitely understandable. So, with Jurassic World Rebirth on the way, I thought it would be fun to do some speculation on what dinosaurs should appear in the upcoming film. For this video, the entries on the list will consist of dinosaurs that have either never appeared in any of the films or got very little screen time. The entries on the list will not only consist of dinosaurs, but will also include pterosaurs, marine reptiles, and prehistoric mammals. Also, this technically might not even be a top 10 list, because it was really difficult for me to decide on just 10 creatures. So, with all that out of the way, let's get on with the top 10 prehistoric animals that I want to see in Jurassic World Rebirth. So starting off at number 10, this one is a bit of a tie between two sauropods. The first one is probably one of the most underrated dinosaurs in the Jurassic franchise, the Mamenchisaurus. The Mamenchisaurus has so far only appeared in the Lost World Jurassic Park, where it, along with several other dinosaurs, were being hunted by Peter Ludlow's team. And that's about it. It only got 10 seconds of screen time? So I think it's about time for it to return to the big screen. Another option would be the Diplodocus. Why the Diplodocus, you might ask? Well, that's because of this toy, the Legacy Collection Diplodocus, which is probably one of the strangest additions to the line, because unlike the Brachiosaurus, Apatosaurus, Mamenchisaurus, and Dreadnoughtus, the Diplodocus has never appeared in any of the films, and no, the statues from Fallen Kingdom don't count. So I think it would be appropriate to include it in Jurassic World Rebirth. Either that or a future season of Jurassic World Chaos Theory. The way that I would want either of these sauropods to be utilized is I think it would be nice if there was a scene in the film where one of the characters mistake their legs for tree trunks, kinda like what Alan Grant did in the Michael Crichton novel. Another way either sauropod can be utilized in the film is I'd like to see them be a bit more imposing and being more than capable of defending themselves by using their sheer size and whip-like tails to fend off attacking predators, because Universal Studios has a pretty bad track record of killing off sauropods, and it all started with Littlefoot's mother. Like seriously, sauropods were one of the largest animals to have ever walked the earth, and I think it's about time that Universal Studios treated them with more love and respect instead of just having them be background animals or predator fodder. So, having either Mamenchisaurus, Diplodocus, or both, just saying, would make for great additions for Jurassic World Rebirth. At number 9, we have the Corythosaurus. This hadrosaur made its debut in Jurassic Park 3, where it was seen running alongside a herd of Parasaurolophus on Isla Sorna. Corythosaurus is another dinosaur that's pretty underrated within the Jurassic franchise. Honestly, I think ornithopods tend to be overlooked within paleomedia, because I think a lot of people tend to forget just how large and powerful they can be. And there are a few ways that Jurassic World Rebirth can better utilize them. One way the Corythosaurus can be utilized in the film is having several different color variations, maybe even some sexual dimorphism. Another way they can be utilized is being able to defend themselves against predators, because just like with Universal Studios sauropods, hadrosaurs have a tendency to be treated as carnivore fodder in most paleomedia. So I think it would be nice if either the Corythosaurus or the Parasaurolophus was able to fight off a predator. For a hypothetical scene in the film, I think it would be nice if there was a scene where a mixed herd of Corythosaurus and Parasaurolophus were calling out to each other, either in the middle of a field or on the floodplains, during a sunset. A beautiful evening chorus. If Corythosaurus isn't an option, some other additional ornithopods may include Maiasaura, Hadrosaurus, Muttaburrasaurus, Lambeosaurus, or maybe even Edmontosaurus. So, I think Corythosaurus would make for a wonderful addition to Jurassic World Rebirth, and a more than welcome return to the Jurassic franchise. If done right, that is. At number 8, we have Friar Tuck itself, the Pachycephalosaurus. This dinosaur has only appeared in the Lost World Jurassic Park and made a brief cameo appearance on one of the monitors in Jurassic World. The Pachycephalosaurus is yet another dinosaur within the Jurassic franchise that is criminally underrated, and it has been replaced and overshadowed by a literal dubious genus for God knows why. So I think it's about time for it to return to the franchise. There are a few ways that the Pachycephalosaurus can be utilized in Jurassic World Rebirth. I mean, obviously I'd like to see them headbutt some things, whether it's human characters, conspecifics, or just them simply defending themselves against small predators. But I would also like to see some unique social dynamics with them. Maybe have like one dominant male with several females, and then there's also a small bachelor herd of younger males that are trying to challenge the dominant male for his position as the leader of the herd. I think that would be pretty interesting. So, after all these years, I think it would be appropriate if Pachycephalosaurus would return in Jurassic World Rebirth. At number 7, we have the underdog of the Jurassic, the Ceratosaurus. This Jurassic predator made its debut in Jurassic Park 3, and would later make several appearances in Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. Now, Ceratosaurus is no stranger to paleomedia. In fact, one of its earliest appearances was in the 1914 silent film, Brute Force. However, in more recent decades, Ceratosaurus has had some less than favorable portrayals, where it is often used as a punching bag for larger predators. And I'd appreciate it if Jurassic World Rebirth did not follow this trend. This film can honestly do so much with Ceratosaurus. They can have the males be more brightly colored than the females. They can have them hunt in pairs. They can have them perform elaborate mating rituals. And they can even show them caring for their offspring. If Ceratosaurus isn't an option, some other medium-sized theropods they can use in the film can include Albertosaurus, Metriacanthosaurus, Cryolophosaurus, or perhaps even Utahraptor. So, I think Ceratosaurus would have a more than welcome return in Jurassic World Rebirth. That is, if they don't follow the same old trope where it gets unnecessarily killed off by a larger theropod. For number 6, this was a dinosaur that I was alluding to earlier in the video. A dinosaur that's been heavily rumored to appear in Jurassic World Rebirth. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's a good chance that it's going to appear in the film, what with toys of it being leaked online. I'm of course referring to the one, the only, the Spinosaurus. The Spinosaurus made its debut in Jurassic Park 3, where it served as the main threat of the film. This super predator was probably one of the most polarizing dinosaurs within the Jurassic franchise, for obvious reasons. But as the years went by, a lot of people were wanting to see this dinosaur return to the franchise. In fact, quite a few people were actually disappointed that it did not appear in Jurassic World Dominion. However, the Spinosaurus did make its return in seasons 4 and 5 of Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. But my god, did they butcher it! They didn't even give it the same sound effects. Although, to be fair, from my understanding, Universal Studios might have lost the file for the original sound effects. But come on, you can't tell me that they couldn't have just went on YouTube and looked up Spinosaurus sound effects that people have archived. I also found out from Andy's Dinosaur Reviews that the official listings for the upcoming Jurassic World Rebirth toy line has the Spinosaurus listed as a hero dino. And it also appears that there's going to be a villain dinosaur as well.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer.
So it appears that Jurassic World Rebirth is repeating one of the mistakes made in the Jurassic World trilogy, and that is anthropomorphizing the dinosaurs by having them be, quote-unquote, heroes and villains. In the original Jurassic Park trilogy, for the most part, the dinosaurs were not anthropomorphized, but were instead treated as animals. Not monsters, not heroes, not villains, just animals. But maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. I mean, we don't really have any official trailers or clips from the film at the time I'm making this video, so maybe they won't anthropomorphize the dinosaurs, but we'll have to see. I also heard rumors that the Spinosaurus in Jurassic World Rebirth is going to be more scientifically accurate, which I think is pretty cool. Although I have a feeling this is going to trigger the fanboys. I honestly don't care if the Spinosaurus is the same individual we saw in JP3 in Camp Cretaceous. I honestly don't care if it's a scientifically accurate Spinosaurus. We just want to see Spinosaurus back on the big screen. Just as long as they give it its original sound effects, they do not anthropomorphize it, and for the love of God, do not make it fight a T-Rex, because that's only gonna piss off the fan base. At number 5, we have Styracosaurus. Out of all the ceratopsians, I think it would make sense to include Styracosaurus in Jurassic World Rebirth, since it never appeared in any of the films, and it is probably one of the most famous and well-known ceratopsians, next to Triceratops and Pachycephalosaurus. There are a few ways that this film can make the Styracosaurus unique among the other ceratopsians in the franchise. They can have them be sexually dimorphic, with the males having brighter colors than the females. They can have them travel in large herds that are led by a large dominant male. The males can use their brightly colored frills to either attract a mate or intimidate their rivals. And if they ever get into a fight, they can use their nasal horns and spiked frills to inflict serious injuries on their opponents. If there were a hypothetical scene in the film involving the Styracosaurus, I think it would be nice if there was a scene where a herd of them were either wallowing around in the mud, taking a dust bath, or sharpening their horns. You know, something that'll make them feel more like real animals. Some other options for a ceratopsian in the film can include Psittacosaurus, Protoceratops, Cosmoceratops, Diabloceratops, Ionosaurus, Chasmosaurus, or maybe even Torosaurus. So, I think Styracosaurus would make for a wonderful addition to the roster of ceratopsians in the Jurassic franchise. At number 4, we have the Tropeognathus. Now, the Jurassic franchise has had quite a few different pterosaurs in the films, including a couple variants of pteranodons, dimorphodons, and even a Quetzalcoatlus. But that's not really a whole lot, and I think it's time we add another pterosaur to the franchise. And I think Tropeognathus would be a pretty solid addition for Jurassic World Rebirth. There are a couple ways that this film can make the Tropeognathus stand out. They can have the crests on their snout be vibrantly colored. They can have them nest on top of giant cliffs. And they can even show them caring for their offspring by bringing back and regurgitating food that they have brought for them. I think it would be nice if there was a scene in the film where the human characters are trying to scale a cliff, while at the same time are trying not to startle or agitate any of the pterosaurs. A few alternative pterosaurs they can use in this film can include Tapejara, Rhamphorhynchus, Sungaripterus, Nyctosaurus, or perhaps even Geosternbergia. Although I have a strong feeling that Quetzalcoatlus is most likely going to be in the film instead, given how the official synopsis for Jurassic World Rebirth states that the characters are going to be collecting genetic material from the largest animals on land, in the sky, and in the water. Either that or Hatzegopteryx. So, whether it appears in the film or not, I think Tropeognathus would be a pretty cool addition to the franchise. For number 3, I thought about adding a marine reptile to the list. Now, obviously, there's a good chance that the Mosasaurus might appear in Jurassic World Rebirth. But what if they added another marine reptile species? And there were several that came to mind, such as Elasmosaurus, Ichthyosaurus, Archelon, Liopleurodon, and Tylosaurus. But the one that stood out to me the most was Kronosaurus. Now, some of you might be asking to yourselves, out of all the marine reptiles, why would you pick Kronosaurus? Well, that's because Kronosaurus appeared in several early iterations for the scripts for both Jurassic Park 3 and what would later become Jurassic World. But unfortunately, it did not make the final cut in either of them. So I think it would be appropriate to include it in Jurassic World Rebirth. Given how the official synopsis for Jurassic World Rebirth states that a civilian family will be attacked on a boat by a group of aquatic reptiles, there might be a chance that Kronosaurus could be in the film. If the Kronosaurus does in fact appear in this upcoming film, one detail that I'd like to see is it being covered in barnacles, similar to what you would see in modern-day whales. I have no idea why, I just thought it'd be a cool detail to add. I know its chances may be somewhat slim, but I think it would be pretty cool if the Kronosaurus finally made its debut in Jurassic World Rebirth. At number 2, we have the Mammoth. Now, Cenozoic mammals are pretty scarce in the Jurassic franchise, with most of them only appearing in the mobile games. But since we got the Smilodon in Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous, I think it would make sense to include a mammoth in Jurassic World Rebirth, since they're one of the most iconic and well-known Ice Age mammals. As for what species of mammoth, there are several to choose from. Since some of Jurassic World Rebirth's filming locations include the sweltering hot environments of Malta and Thailand, I highly doubt we'll be able to see a woolly mammoth in the film. I think a more appropriate choice would be a Columbian mammoth, which are a lot larger and probably would have had less hair covering their bodies, which would have made them better suited to warmer environments. Another option would be the Channel Island pygmy mammoth, which are actually a descendant of the Columbian mammoth, but thanks to island dwarfism, they would not be much taller than a person. I think having them in this film would not only be fascinating, but also downright adorable. If a mammoth is too much of an obvious choice, there are several other extinct proboscideans to choose from, such as the Mastodon, Dinotherium, Platybelodon, Gomphotherium, and Paleoloxodon. Although I highly doubt we'll be able to see a mammoth or any other prehistoric mammal in Jurassic World Rebirth, I would still love to see one in the film anyway. And finally, at the number 1 spot, we have the Utahraptor. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably rolling your eyes and saying to yourselves how incredibly obvious that the guy with the name Utahraptor in his channel title wants to see a Utahraptor in Jurassic World Rebirth. But before you guys say anything in the comments, just hear me out. The Jurassic franchise has had its fair share of having oversized dromaeosaurs in the films, and this all started with Gregory S. Paul's outdated hypothesis that Deinonychus was a larger North American species of velociraptor, which eventually led to the Jurassic Park velociraptor's size, anatomy, and design being more or less based on Deinonychus. However, in this particular instance, the filmmakers can actually get away with having a giant raptor in their film, because Utahraptor was fucking huge. I'm talking 16 to 23 feet in length and weighing around 550 to over 1,000 pounds. That would make them even larger than the Jurassic Park velociraptors. Although the Utahraptor was likely not as fast or as agile as Deinonychus or Velociraptor, but they didn't need to be. Instead, they relied on their sheer size and brute strength to bring down their prey. I can honestly imagine a scene where it's late at night and a small pack of Utahraptors are stalking their prey. Either a herd of dinosaurs or a group of humans. The raptors use the foliage as cover as they creep closer and closer toward their victim. And when the time is right, they pounce on their prey, knocking them to the ground and using their sheer weight to pin down their victim. Their claws piercing into their flesh, and they use their wing feathers and long, stiff tail to keep themselves balanced as their prey struggles and tries to call for help. But the raptors don't make it a quick death. Instead, they eat their prey alive while they're still struggling. Truly a terrifying experience. If I were to design the Utahraptor for Jurassic World Rebirth, I would want it to be not much different from the real animal, being very large and having a stocky build. I would want it to be much larger than a person and the other Jurassic Park raptors. I would want it to have a red scaly head and neck, similar to that of a vulture, or any dromaeosaur paleoart from Lewis Ray. I would want the rest of the body to be covered in black feathers, with the wing feathers and tail fan having brown, white, and blue patterns. The eyes of the animal should be very similar to the JP3 raptors, having tiny pupils that stare right into your soul. The sickle claws of the animals should be massive, up to 9 inches in length, which would put any other raptor in the franchise to shame. So, in my humble and definitely unbiased opinion, I think the Utahraptor, if done right, would make for a wonderful, terrifying, and memorable addition to Jurassic World Rebirth and the Jurassic franchise as a whole. And there you have it, folks. Those were the top 10 dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals that I want to see in Jurassic World Rebirth. And yes, I know I mentioned a lot more than 10 creatures in this video, but again, it was really difficult for me to decide on just 10 animals. And I'm not saying that Jurassic World Rebirth should use all the creatures I mentioned here. These were just mere suggestions. So, what dinosaurs or other prehistoric animals do you want to see in Jurassic World Rebirth? And what are your thoughts on this upcoming film? Are you excited for it, or do you think it's going to be an absolute disaster? Let me know in the comments down below. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!